Hi y'all, I'm Missy, and today I'm going to be doing a roasted chicken with potato filling and chicken gravy. You can also follow this method if you're cooking a turkey. I got this recipe from a coal cracker in the kitchen, so come on inside and let's get started. Hi y'all, I'm going to be making roast chicken. It's going to be a whole chicken, Pennsylvania Dutch style. I got the recipe from coal cracker in the kitchen. And this is Mrs. Fogg's dry chicken rub. And I got this recipe off the page as well. 2 teaspoons of sweet Hungarian paprika. 1 teaspoon of onion powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan because that's all I have right now. 1/2 teaspoon of coarse black pepper, like from a pepper grinder. 1 teaspoon of, it calls for white sugar, but I ain't got any white sugar right now, so I'm using pure cane sugar, or what's known as turbinado sugar. And 3/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. So I got me about a 6-pound chicken here, and I'm gonna leave it in these double bags right here before I cut it open and everything. All these juices are gonna go everywhere. And so it's good to have this bag, and I'm going to set it down in the sink too. And that helps me keep from making a big mess. Alrighty then, let me show you what I got going here. I took the giblets and all those pieces, and I took them out of the inside of the chicken and put that down here in the bottom of the pot. And in the bottom of the pot I have celery, onions, and carrots. And that is to protect the bottom of the chicken, so it sort of creates a rack to set the chicken on. And here I have marinated this overnight with this dry rub, and I took the remaining carrots, onions, and celery, stuffed them inside the chicken. Now if you want to get fancy, you can sew this chicken up. Me, ain't got time for that. I won't be doing that, but it's your world, and so if you feel like doing that, by all means do it. So what I have here is my overnight marinated bird. On the bottom I have some carrots, celery, and onion. On the inside of the bird I put some carrots, celery, and onion. Also the dry rub went inside the bird. Now, also you're going to need 1 cup of chicken broth, maybe 2. You can make your own chicken broth, or you can use canned chicken broth. It's your world. Do what you got to do. And so now I'm going to put this in the oven, probably for a couple of hours on 425. And I'm going to baste it occasionally, about every 15 minutes. Give it a baste so that it doesn't get dried out. And so here we go into the oven. It's been about 20 minutes and I don't want the bird to dry out, so I'm going to baste it with the liquid from the bottom of the pan. Okay, and there's like, I want to say I put about 3 cups of chicken broth in here, so that I would have some good basting liquid. And so all I want to do is just kind of try to get all areas covered with the basting liquid. And this is about half an hour in, 20-30 minutes, something like that. And of course it's not anywhere near being done. And I'm gonna wash my baster with soap and water between uses to avoid cross-contamination and all. So here we go. I'm going to put it back in the oven now. Alrighty then. While our chicken is in the oven, I'm going to melt 8 tablespoons of butter. And I am going to put some onions and celery. That's about 1 cup each. And I'm going to saute it with this butter here. And this is going to be for our potato filling. Alrighty then. I've got my onions and celery sauteed. And here I have some toasted breadcrumbs that I had left over from breakfast yesterday. And so it calls for about 4 or 5 cups, but 3, I got 3, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to stir this all together and get the bread soaked with all of this butter and celery and onion mixture. and I'll be right back. Now you're going to need about 6 cups of mashed potatoes. And I mashed some potatoes the other night because I made some boeuf schenkel, and so I have some of that filling left, which is potatoes, milk, heavy whipping cream, parsley, onions. So I had a couple of cups of that left, so I'm just going to dump that in here. And then I had 4 cups of just regular mashed potatoes left over. And so here I have added the onions, celery, butter, and my cubed toasted bread to the mashed potatoes. I'm going to give this a stir, and I'm also going to be adding 2 beaten eggs and some parsley. So I got that all mixed up now, and so I'm going to add some parsley to this. Maybe a couple of tablespoons. Just depends on how much you like. I think I use like a shot glass. Yeah, so that might be closer to 1/4 cup, I don't know. But anyway, there was already some egg in the pierogi potato mixture that I made the other day. And so I have 2 beaten eggs here, but because we already have some egg in here, I'm just going to go with about half of that, so that would be like 1 egg. And I'm going to give that a stir and test it for consistency to see how much milk I do or do not want to add. Of course, there's already heavy whipping cream in the mashed potatoes that I've already made. And so I'm not going to be using very much, and I'm going to be using heavy whipping cream instead of milk. I think a 1/4 cup heavy whipping cream ought to do it. Okay, because I don't want to get it too thin. Okay, I still want it to have a kind of a thick consistency, like dressing or stuffing or a really thick mashed potato. Alrighty then, now I'm going to season with a little salt and pepper. I would say, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, because I'm starting with mashed potatoes that have already been seasoned with salt, and I don't want this to get too salty. Now I'm going to be making some pierogies for some boeuf schenkel later on, probably tonight or tomorrow. So I scooped some out of here and I put it in this container. I'm going to set it aside, and the rest of this I'm just going to bake up. So the chicken is coming along quite nicely. I have been basting it. This is the second baste. I baste it about every half an hour. Alright, and I want to try to get the entire surface covered with all that nice liquid down there, and going to put it right back in the oven for about another half hour. Now while that chicken is baking, I'm going to put my potato filling in this pan right here, spread it around, and get ready to bake it off. Alrighty then, and once you get it into a baking dish, don't be shy with the butter. Some recipes call for 4 tablespoons of cubed butter spread across the top, and I think I've got maybe 2 or 3 there. I just used what butter I had. And now this is going to go in the oven on 350 for probably 30 to 40 minutes. I'm going to check it in 15 because everybody's ovens are different. And then I'll check it again at 30 minutes, and then again at whatever and whatever, like every 5 minutes after that, to make sure it doesn't burn. Alrighty, about 2.5 hours later, and our bird is done. Okay, and we have all this liquid left in this pot. We don't want to throw that away. We're going to use that to make gravy. And I'm going to put a lid back on this and put it in the oven just to keep it warm. It's time to put the potato filling in the oven on 350 for about half an hour. And we poured our pan juices into a strainer with a large bowl underneath. Now it's time to cover this and put it in the freezer so that the fat can separate. As the old saying goes, the fridge is quick, but the freezer's quicker. I just removed the potato filling from the oven, and ain't it just gorgeous? I just love it, and it's starting to firm up. So I'm just going to leave it sitting on top of the stove. I use a springform pan to make mine, and I removed the form from around the sides, and it should just stand up just like that. Alrighty then, it takes about 3 hours for this to freeze, at least in this type of dish. And so I have separated the fat. I've scraped it off the top there. And now I want to add enough water You could also use chicken broth if you wanted to bring this up to 32 ounces or 4 cups. Okay, and you don't have to use bottled water. That's just what I had sitting here. Alrighty, so I got 4 tablespoons of chicken fat and 4 tablespoons of butter. Going to heat that up, and then I'm going to add a half a cup of flour. Okay, so there's my flour and butter and chicken fat mixture. Okay, and now it's time to add this liquid. So there it goes. Alright, I'm going to give it a stir. I'm going to stir constantly to keep it from sticking. After I got this mixed very well, I transferred it into a non-stick skillet. This is a large skillet, and I have it on high right now because I want it to come to a boil, but I'm going to still stir constantly. Also earlier, I took a chicken thigh off the chicken and I minced it up. I chopped it up really good, and I want that in here too. Once the mixture came to a soft boil, I didn't want to bring it to a hard boil. Okay, I have turned the heat off, and I'm just going to continue to stir, and it's just about how I want it, and I think I'm going to take it off the eye now. It will continue to thicken a little bit after it's removed from the eye. Now remember, the chicken rub, it had salt, and so I want to salt this at the very end, okay, because if you add it during the cooking process, it might get too salty. There wasn't a lot of salt, but for me, quite a bit, because I don't like a whole lot of salt. And this is about the consistency that I like it. To me, that's gravy, alright? Now, if you like it a little different, you know, make your adjustments accordingly. And so now I'm getting ready to put all this on a plate. So here we go. I added about a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream to my gravy because I just like it that way. You don't have to do that. You can add whatever you want or don't add what you don't want. It's your world. You do as you please. Now here I have my potato filling and my chicken, and I'm going to take some gravy right here and pour it over the top, maybe a couple of ladles. Alright, and there we have it. Chicken, potato filling, and chicken gravy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if it was me, I would allow about, well, I'd allow several hours to do this. If I were going to serve this for dinner around 5 o'clock, I would start this around 7 in the morning. It's not that it's a difficult recipe, but it just takes time to do things like let that stuff freeze, you know, so that you can scrape the fat off the top and use it to make your gravy and whatnot. So that's just my advice. You do what you want. We'll have another peek at that. Doesn't that look good? Oh, potato filling. What can be wrong with that? So again, I appreciate you watching the video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.